All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tim, and we are starting week 8 of the Find Your True North podcast series, and we're just moving right along throughout this process of psychoeducation. It's kind of what this show is all about, is this helping you to learn and to educate yourself about what psychology is, what is our brain doing, and then what is mental health and mental wellness. So that is kind of what Find Your True North is all about. So we're going to continue on with week 8 as we delve into some topics that maybe aren't often talked about in your normal daily lives. So I'm hoping that we can kind of be a little bit of breath of fresh air, give you a little bit of direction, maybe a little bit of awareness, and hopefully you can take that and then integrate it into your own personal lives. And with it being June, today is June 2nd, 2025, it is the start of Men's Mental Health Month. And so I thought what I would do throughout Find Your True North throughout this month would be that each week we're going to do something that relates to men's mental health. Because let's face it, men's mental health has been significantly neglected throughout the years. It's been very neglected. I should say it's just really impacted everybody, not just men, but everyone. When men and even any gender struggles with their own mental health, we all struggle with different mental health aspects as well too. We're all connected. So we're going to address all the men. So all the men you are going to get talked to today. You're going to get talked to this month, and you're going to get taught, you're going to get advocated, and you're going to be supported by me and by Northern Woods Wellness as well too. We definitely help support men and veterans and farmers, elderly individuals that are male or female. But since it is Men's Mental Health Month, we're talking to the elderly men. So I just want to let you know that if you are looking for services, we do provide that to everybody. But let's just kind of give you an overview of what men's mental health is. So, men's mental health is a new focus on what it means to be male, on what it means to live with traditions of being male, at least within the United States of America. And historically, men's mental health has been very rooted in a lot of toxic and avoidant and lack of emotional development. It's been going on for years. You probably see movies, or you probably know your grandparents or even great grandparents who really don't express themselves emotionally at all. That's because they've been taught by their own parents and by their own society that emotions are not part of your communication. You just don't do it. And I think part of that was because you were not allowed to show weakness. You're only allowed to show power. And that has significant implications when it comes into men's mental health and even just, women's mental health too, because men often in the history have been traditionally have been breadwinners. They have also been the areas and sources of abuse, both emotionally, physically, and sexually, at least throughout history. And so men's mental health directly impacts women, minorities, children, elderly in general. At least that's how it's been seen throughout our culture and throughout our US and world history, is that men's mental health has really been neglected and impacts everyone. So if we can advocate for men's mental health in 2025 and beyond, I think we're going to see a massive benefit, not just to men's mental health and their processing, but to the holistic mental health, the collective mental health of our country and our world. So I'm hoping that as everyone goes into June and looks at Men's Mental Health Month, that even if you're a spouse of a male, or if you are female, or if you're non binary, looking at the importance of helping men to develop that emotional capacity and to develop that emotional intelligence really does go a long way. At least that's something that I've come to find as a therapist and in my own experience. I've been brought up with family that has been very supportive, but you can still feel that societal expectation of minimizing your emotions as much as possible. And I love my parents, I love my brothers, but they all do the same thing too. They all have that avoidant nature of emotions. And so if we can help challenge that and advocate for men to be more open, not ridiculing them or ostracizing them for speaking about emotions, because we got to look at microaggressions here, even that when men show emotions, people's microaggressions, which are really tiny little aggressions that we do, like facial expressions, words, gasps, sighs, those can all come back and tell men, or anyone for that matter, that that emotion is not appropriate. And then the human brain, especially for men, is really attuned to anything emotional, and it will take away from that individual's experience of expressing that emotion. So we all have to be aware of our microaggressions. But overall, I do think men's mental health is getting better. I've seen it get better since I graduated from college in 2015. I think men are more open. I think men are also a little bit more better listeners now, when historically us men really suck at listening to people. We always get caught in that logistical aspect. We don't focus on dreaming a bit. Whereas women, I've noticed, and I only really do mostly heterosexual couples counseling, but in my couple sessions, women are really fighting for that best relationship, that connection, and men often are avoidant, aloof, they're missing the point, they're looking at the logistics, thinking of finances. That traditional way of thinking is not going to bode well for 2025 and beyond, especially when it comes to relationships. I actually think that that traditional thinking of financial support, being a provider, I do think that accounts for a large portion of our divorce rates that are happening in the United States as well too, because what comes with that traditional mindset, it comes with a power dynamic. When a male comes into the picture saying, "Well, I'm the provider, I'm the breadwinner, you're going to be a stay-at-home mom," that power dynamic instantly is created. And we need to start challenging that more, especially with our recent push for more equality, for more progressive viewpoints and thoughts. We have to be able to help men feel like they don't need that power dynamic. Now, you might get a lot of pushback on that because men are stubborn and we're born into our own ways. But as supporters of men's mental health, we do have to look for the desire that that individual is most likely wanting to do the best they can. They just don't know how to do it in an emotional capacity. They know how to do it in a logistical capacity. And a lot of times, I know women, you might not like hearing this, it seems like it falls on the woman to teach the male how to be in relationships, how to take care of themselves. And I'm not sure why that is, but it is a pattern I see a lot in couples counseling. And I'm thinking that if we can point that out even to men, to saying, "Hey, you notice I've been teaching you a lot lately how to be an individual, how to be a human being." We may have to do that, even though it might feel a little confrontational, because we have to point out that men's mental health is lacking. Now, I know it sounds like I'm kind of bashing men and their mental health, and it's kind of because I am. I'm not bashing it. I'm talking about the reality of men's mental health and how neglected it's been. But we also don't want partners to be babying their husband or their spouse. We want the husband, the man, the spouse to step into that role willingly and with desire to do better for themselves, for the relationship. And that is where it's really important to create an environment that is going to be conducive for men to feel safe and heard and understood. Not just contextually. We want the male to feel like they are believing they're heard, believing they're understood. And a lot of that comes down to just maybe babying them a little bit, not too much, not enabling, but letting them understand that you're going to be there whether they are, whether they're not emotionally intelligent or not. We have to make it aware that they are struggling and that we notice it. It has been improving. A lot of work to go, though. And the reason this is so important to me is because, one, I am male. I have two other brothers. I'm a middle child, and I have my mom and my dad. So we live in a very male dominated home, and I will be the first one to say that our emotional culture in our house was not very good. It was very avoidant, actually, and still kind of can be. But it's still, at this point in 2025, we're starting to talk about things. We're starting to see where people stand politically. We're starting to see where maybe past things have happened that have hurt, and we're talking about it. And that's something I want to keep emphasizing, especially for men, that you don't have to be right. You don't have to fix everything. It's okay to dream, and you don't have to be logistical about everything. But in order for that to occur, we need to make sure that men are feeling safe to explore something new. Women, there's kind of this cultural aspect that women are born into, where emotions are just accepted more by others. Men do not have that. There's lots of research that shows that men are born immediately into this idea that they are not allowed to express these emotions, and that's gone a long ways back, very, very long. So it's ingrained in multiple generations. So intergenerational trauma is probably accounting for a lot of this, but it's also acculturation that we have done to our own species. We've, through AI and through technology, it's not getting any better. We have to show that men can be themselves. And so that is what this whole podcast series is going to be about. So what we're going to end up talking about a little bit more as we go throughout the month of June is we're going to talk a lot about how is men's mental health important in relationships, and why is it important to look at mental health only from a men's perspective. That is going to really be beneficial for everybody, not just men, but spouses and children, looking at, oh, this person has been neglected throughout their life and intergenerationally. We'll talk about relationships. We'll talk about communication with men. Men do not do well with direct communication. Men do a little bit better, what it seems like, with metaphorical communication. And they need to be challenged to move away from contextual aspects and need to be given permission to move into the meaning of it all. That is something that they are not going to be used to. And, women, if you're okay with it, then go ahead. That is something that you're willing to take. If you're willing to take on that role for your partner or for your brother or father, then just point out to them that you're willing to help teach them. So we'll talk about communication. We'll also talk about the work-life balance that is very challenging for men. Men are very logistical, as I kind of said earlier, but the ability to dream and have fun seems like it's the first thing to go for men. We want them to realize they can dream and they can have fun and they can believe in what it might be like to fix the house up without thinking about finances. We have to kind of help support them. Men also seem to be struggling with environmental organization things like dirty homes or dirty rooms. They seem to struggle a lot more with that than it seems like women do. Now, granted, I'm making bold claims here, but that's just what I'm seeing from a couple's perspective. So those are just a brief concept of topics that we'll dive into over the next couple weeks. And I really hope you join us in on the concept of saving men's mental health. Maybe that's what we'll call it. Saving Men's Mental Health Month. And we want to save it. We want to nurture it. We want to bring it back because it's been gone a while. And I'll give you my inputs from my relationship with Kaylee. We'll probably have her join in on a session and talk about how stubborn and direct and stuff that I can be. And then I'm going to use myself as kind of a thing of what not to do, because I'll be honest. I'm sorry, Kaylee, but I can very much so be hard to work with. I try to be really kind and compassionate, but there's still fear and worry about showing myself that I think will always be there. But with the right guidance of the right people in your lives and with the right psychoeducation tools, we can really change the trajectory of men's mental health. So that's where we're going in the month of June. And today is more of just an introductory video, an introductory podcast is going to tell you about why it's so important to engage in mental health awareness, whether you're male or female, male or non-binary. It's really important that we focus on the impact of men's mental health, because there are a lot of male leaders that are making decisions for us and also in our family that we want to maybe help bring awareness to why that might be more of a reactive, avoidant thought process. So if you're open to checking in the next couple of weeks about how to benefit mental health, or if you're curious about looking further into what the research has about mental health, we'll be diving into that over the next few weeks. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 715-598-1568, or email us at info@northernwoodswellnessllc.com, and we're happy to answer any questions. We're also happy to get you in with any of our counselors and show you what Northern Woods is all about. Hope all's well. Have a great rest of your week and have a great June, and we'll talk next week.